All right, let's jump right in. Welcome everyone to this explainer. Think of today as your very first masterclass into the ancient and honestly absolutely fascinating Order of Beast Mastery. If you're joining us, it means you're ready to look a little deeper, right? To look way beyond the obvious. Today we are going to learn exactly how to use natural instinct to detect and ultimately fight the incredibly rigid, destructive forces of demonic corruption. We're going to be exploring a world where true power doesn't come from sitting on a throne or, swinging a giant sword. It comes from the living, breathing wild that surrounds us every single day. So get comfortable, really focus in, and let's unlock the secrets of this incredible order together. So, here is our syllabus for today's masterclass. We'll be covering Welcome to the Order, Valor, the Humble Authority, the Four Signs of Mastery, sharpening your perception, daily detection exercises, and finally, renewal versus rigid control. Let's get to it. Section 1. Welcome to the Order, the kingdom that breathes. Okay, so as an initiate in this masterclass, your very first lesson is all about shifting your perspective. It's absolutely crucial that you understand we are not rulers sitting high up on some pedestal above animals. We aren't commanders barking orders. Actually, it's more like we are translators. Translators of the living kingdom that breathes right beside mankind. True beast power. It's not about ownership at all. It's about being accepted by the natural world. To really wrap our heads around this, I want you to think of demonic power like a greedy, massive corporation, right? They just clear-cut an entire forest for quick, incredibly destructive profit. They bend everything to their will, and honestly, they just leave total devastation behind them. Whereas beast power, that is like a master botanist who carefully, methodically prunes a garden. The botanist uses recognition and a deep understanding of natural balance to ensure the long-term survival of the whole ecosystem. Where demonic crowns try to bend weaker beings into servants through sheer domination, the beast masters stand inside a covenant. The deal is simple: protect the balance and the wild will answer. Moving right along to Section 2, Valor, the Humble Authority. To really get this balance, we have to look at the origin story of Valor Thane. Now, Valor was not born in some fancy palace. He certainly wasn't trained in a high-end temple. The story goes that as a child, he was found sleeping at the edge of a dry valley, literally nestled between the ribs of a giant dead stag. And get this, surrounding him were 7 wolves, but they weren't threatening him. They were simply guarding him. Growing up like that, Valor understood deep down that you do not command beasts with arrogance. There's no room for ego out there. His first real test came during what was called the Year of Black Bells, when a demonic prince actually sent madness rippling through the cattle of 3 different villages. It was chaos. The animals were destroying everything, even drowning themselves in the river. Naturally, the panicked villagers just wanted to slaughter the entire herd to be done with it. But Valor, he took a totally different approach. He simply walked right up to the lead bull, pressed his own forehead against its skull, and just listened. He actually followed the chain of fear all the way back to the false sound that the demon had planted in the animal's mind, and he answered it with the natural, grounding rhythm of breathing and a steady heartbeat. He completely cured the herd through deep listening, not by using force. And that brings us to Valor's core philosophy, which is perfectly captured in this quote: "Borrowed authority must remain humble." Notice what he's saying there. You are borrowing this power. And his crown really reflected this. It wasn't made of hunted trophies or shiny heavy gold, no. It was made of shed antlers, fallen feathers, and river grass. Things freely given by nature. And here is the absolute key to Valor. He wore this crown only in councils, never, ever in battle. He firmly believed that battle already tempts a person to feel way too important, way too powerful. This perfectly illustrates the point that mastery is about humbly serving the wild order, not ruling over it with an iron fist.
Which leads us to section 3, the 4 signs of mastery.
So this right here is your core curriculum. If you take away anything from today's explainer, memorize these 4 signs of beast mastery because Valor called this the second alphabet of nature. First up, we have scent. This reveals what masks and glamours try to conceal. A demon can wear all the royal smoke and perfume in the world, but a hound is going to smell the rot hiding underneath. Second is rhythm. This uncovers whether a body is calm, ill, afraid, or maybe even possessed. We're talking about the heartbeat, the breathing pattern, the cadence of a footstep. Third, we look at territory. This exposes those invisible borders that humans just blindly ignore all the time, but animals respect deeply and instinctively. And fourth, kinship. This shows who belongs to whom and what kind of love or duty will actually make a creature step up and defend its own. You really need to study these 4 signs until they become absolute second nature to you.
Now, you might be wondering, how does this actually play out in the real world? How do beasts manage to detect corruption way before the highly trained priests or the heavily armed soldiers do? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Beasts do not debate theology. They literally could not care less about a demon's fancy title or its magical persuasive speeches. Instead, they react purely to imbalance. They use those exact 4 signs we just talked about to sense the literal rot under a demon's perfume, to hear a false heartbeat that just doesn't sync up with the earth, or to feel the absolute wrongness in the soil, long before a human eye could ever spot the threat. Let's move on to section 4, sharpening your perception. So, different masters throughout history brilliantly trained their human students to target very specific deceptions using different animals. Let's break this down. We have Mater Skull, the wolf master. She used pack law and shared warmth to counter the Count of Discord, who used powers of division. Then we have Oru Kellen, the elephant master. He utilized the incredibly deep memory of elephants to fight the Marquis of False Mercy, a demon who basically tried to erase human grief. And then there's Asha Varen, the Falcon Master. She relied on the brutal, piercing honesty of Falcon's sight to cut right through the glamours and mirages created by the Duke of Painted Suns. As you can see, each beast companion offers a completely unique lens to help humans see through a very different kind of demonic lie. To give you a better picture, notice how Mayera didn't just blindly attack the Count of Discord with a bunch of swords. That wouldn't have worked. Instead, she ordered the villagers to open their doors and literally share their cooking fires right in the center of town. While they did this, her wolves formed a solid protective ring around the outside of the village. She used the physical reality of shared warmth to completely destroy the demon's whispers of paranoia and suspicion. It's brilliant. And similarly, look at Asha. When facing the Duke of Painted Suns and his beautiful golden false desert horizons, she just unleashed every hunting bird she had. Her falcons didn't attack the illusion itself. They simply sought out the true currents of the wind and struck the demon's hidden shadow. It teaches us that true sight is really just attention sharpened to the point where glamour has nowhere left to stand. And then we have Oru Kellen, the elephant master, who showed us that elephants carry the genuinely holy power of memory. Here's what happened. A demon arrived in the savannah, offering this magical fix to erase everyone's grief. It sounded great at first, right? But it created this false, totally empty peace where people completely forgot their history and just blindly wandered right back into old dangers. So Oru guided his herd along what they called the memory road. The elephants walked, touching the earth, rumbling deeply, and this vibration actually made the villagers remember their stolen grief and their lost loved ones. By doing this, they completely broke the demon's false mercy. It's an incredibly profound lesson. True healing isn't just the removal of pain. True healing is the return of meaning. All right, section 5, daily detection exercises. as new students in this masterclass, you really need some actionable steps to build your own layered perception. So I highly recommend adding these specific exercises passed down from the masters themselves to your daily routine. First, try watching a single stone shadow change from sunrise all the way to noon. Asha's students actually did this to sharpen their focus against glamours, learning to spot tiny things like a snake track or a beetle hiding in the shade. Next, make sure you store your grain above snake height. Why? Well, to prevent unnecessary conflict. Step heavily when you're walking near river reeds. The serpent master taught this because preventing a bite through practical kindness, basically giving a hidden creature plenty of time to safely flee, is always better than having to cure venom later. Also, walk beside your horse for miles to learn its physical body map before you ever even think about mounting it. And try to identify the exact split-second moment a hawk adjusts to a thermal wind. Do these things to train your attention. This is exactly how you stop treating the living world as just some passive background decoration.
And now our final lesson, Section 6, Renewal versus Rigid Control.
For this, we must confront the ultimate difference between our natural order and the stagnation of the demonic crowns. This is Sereth Coil, known as the serpent master beneath the roots. Sereth had to face down a truly terrifying demon known as the Baron of Old Skins. Now, this particular demon cursed villagers to endlessly, hopelessly repeat their very worst mistakes. It was awful. A thief would just keep stealing even after genuinely repenting. A coward would flee in terror at every single thunderclap. The demon literally locked the entire village in a stifling cage of rigid, unbreakable habit, basically mocking them by claiming that no creature ever truly changes.
But Sereth defeated this demon using a really vital serpent teaching, shedding old skins. He went around and placed hundreds of empty, shimmering snake skins across the roads and doorways of the village. He used this to teach the people that, look, just like a snake doesn't deny what it used to be, but simply sheds its old skin behind because it has physically grown larger, human life can also grow larger than its past wounds. This was such a powerful visual. It allowed the villagers to start performing small, everyday acts that went against their old, forced patterns. The thief finally returned a coin. The coward managed to stay put through a raging storm. By actively shedding their old identities, breaking those past cycles of trauma, they allowed for natural growth and completely broke the demon's curse of rigid control. And guys, this really brings us to the core conflict of everything we've talked about today. Ultimately, demons enforce rigid, silent control. We see this perfectly with the Beastless Crown, a union of demonic wills that quite literally tried to erase all untamed life from the world. They promised humanity ultimate comfort and safety, right? No predators, no annoying insects, no wolves howling outside your window at night. But the hidden price for that comfort was complete spiritual suffocation. It would be a quiet, completely dead world. Beastmasters, on the other hand, fight to preserve the dangerous, meaningful, and deeply renewing natural growth of the living world. They understand that the wild survives through a chaotic, diverse balance, absolutely not through forced sameness beneath a demon's crown. Valor Thane left us with this incredible, powerful ethic that was actually carved on a cedar gate. Let this really sink in for a second. Do not ask the wild to love you like a servant. Learn to stand so the wild does not need to fear you like a master. It's such a perfect reminder that true power, real, lasting power, is deeply rooted in kinship, in relationship, and in mutual respect. It is never, ever rooted in domination. So, as you officially graduate from today's explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to carry with you. Knowing now that a demonic crown demands absolute sameness and control, but the wild thrives and survives through a vibrant, diverse balance, how are you going to apply these 4 signs to protect the living kingdom around you? How will you use your newly sharpened perception to shed your own old skins and detect the hidden corruption in your own world? Thank you so much for joining me in this masterclass. Now get out there and listen to the wild.